This video uncovers one of the darkest medical experiments in American history, a study where human lives were knowingly sacrificed in the name of science. In 1932, the U.S. government began what it called free health care for black men in Tuskegee, Alabama. But behind closed doors, it was something far more disturbing. Unlike most retellings, this video doesn't just explain what happened. It reveals how the system justified it, protected it, and allowed it to continue for 40 years without stopping. And the most unsettling question isn't what they did, it's why no one intervened, even when a cure was already available. In the early 20th century, syphilis was one of the most feared diseases in America. It damaged the body slowly, attacked the brain, and often led to insanity or death. By the 1930s, doctors wanted to understand how syphilis behaved when left untreated, not to cure it, but to observe it. In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service, a federal government agency, officially launched a medical study in Macon County, Alabama, near the town of Tuskegee. The study was supported by the U.S. government local medical authorities. It was funded entirely by government money. From the very beginning, the goal was clearly written in internal documents: to study the natural progression of untreated syphilis in black men. This decision was based on deeply racist beliefs common among doctors at the time. Instead of using volunteers who understood the risks, the researchers chose poor black men who could be easily controlled. The researchers recruited 600 black men. 399 were infected with syphilis, 201 were not. Used only for comparison, most were sharecroppers. Many had never been to a doctor. A large number could not read or write. Doctors told them they had bad blood, a meaningless term used to hide the truth. They were promised free checkups, free meals, transportation to clinics, burial insurance. For men who had lived their entire lives ignored by the system, this felt like respect. They trusted the doctor. That trust became the trap. Once the study began, the men were called in regularly for examinations. Blood was drawn again and again. Doctors carefully recorded symptoms as the disease destroyed their bodies: chronic pain, vision loss, severe fatigue, memory loss, paralysis, mental breakdown. The men believed these visits meant treatment. They did not. No real medicine was ever given. One of the cruelest moments came when doctors introduced what they called a special free treatment. The men were excited. Instead, doctors performed spinal taps. This involved inserting a long needle into the spine to extract fluid. The procedure was painful, terrifying, and risky. Some men screamed, some fainted, some were unable to walk properly afterward. The spinal taps were not treatment. They were done only to measure how far syphilis had spread to the brain. The men were never told the truth. In the early 1940s, penicillin became the official cure for syphilis. This should have ended the study immediately. It did not. Doctors involved in the Tuskegee study made a decision. The experiment would continue. They actively prevented treatment. Men were denied access to hospitals, removed from treatment lists, blocked from receiving penicillin. During World War II, some participants were drafted. Military doctors discovered they had syphilis and tried to treat them. The U.S. Public Health Service intervened and stopped it. They were sent home untreated. Their suffering had become more valuable than their survival. This was not accidental neglect. It was deliberate. Researchers openly discussed the men as subjects, not patients. They believed black families did not matter. This study would never have been done on white Americans. Race was not a detail. Race was the reason. Wives were never warned they could be infected. Many women became sick without knowing why. Children were born with congenital syphilis, suffering from blindness, bone deformities, brain damage. Doctors knew this was happening. They chose silence.
What was done cannot be undone. On behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
As the years passed, men began to die, but even death did not end their involvement. Families were promised free funeral services. This was not kindness. Doctors needed permission to perform autopsies. Bodies were examined. Organs were studied. Notes were written. Even in death, the men were used. From 1932 to 1972. Presidents changed laws, changed medical ethics evolved. But the study continued. For 40 years, no one stopped it. Because the men were poor. Because they were black. Because their lives were considered expendable. In 1972, a public health service employee named Peter Buxton exposed the study to the press. The public reaction was immediate and furious. The government had no choice. The Tuskegee syphilis study was finally shut down. By the time it ended, dozens of men were dead, families were destroyed. Trust in medical institutions was shattered. In 1997, the U.S. government issued a formal apology. But apologies cannot undo decades of suffering. The Tuskegee syphilis study was not a mistake. It was a decision shaped by racism, power, and silence. And it remains one of the darkest reminders that science without ethics is not progress, it is cruelty.